Hello dear students, welcome to the class on diuretics. In this class, let's learn about types of diuretics and loop diuretics. So coming to the specific learning objectives for today's session, at the end of this class you should be able to define what is diuretics, classify diuretics, explain the mechanism of action, adverse effects and uses of furosemide, thiazide, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, osmotic diuretics. So in this class we'll mainly concentrate only on furosemide, and this carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, thiazides and osmotic diuretics will be dealt in next sessions. So coming to the diuretics, so what do you understand by diuretics? Diuretics are the group of drugs which will promotes the water excretion. What do you understand by natriuretics? Means these are the group of drugs which will promote the renal excretion of sodium. So in clinical practice, both these terminologies are used synonymously. They are exchanged. So what will be the net effect when you use diuretics? There will be net loss of both sodium as well as water through the urine. So this effect can be made utilized or applied in the treatment of hypertension, in CHF, as well as in case of edema due to other etiologies. So coming to the types of diuretics, this classification is mainly based on the amount of sodium which is being excreted. What do you understand by eye sealing? Means these are the group of drugs which will excrete the sodium to the maximum. So examples are furosemide, bumetanide, toracemide. Under medium efficacy diuretics you have benzothiazines. Example hydrochlorothiazide, hydroflumethiazide, benzdiazide. Under thiazide-like diuretics, you have chlorthalidone, metolazone, zipamide, indapamide, clopamide. Weak efficacious diuretics are carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, example astazolamide. Other examples are dorzolamide and brinzolamide. Coming to the osmotic diuretics, you have mannitol, isosorbide, glycerol. Potassium sparing diuretics, you have aldosterone antagonist, example spironolactone, eplerenone. Renal epithelial sodium channel inhibitors, example amiloride and triamtrin. So coming to the structure of nephrons, where it is showing the different parts of nephrons. So you have proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, thick ascending loop of Henle, distal convoluted tubule, and collecting duct. The number represents the site of action of various diuretics. So the number 1 represents the action of astazolamide, that is action of carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, and number 2 represents the action of osmotic agents like mannitol, and number 3 represents the action of loop diuretics, where it inhibits sodium potassium 2 chloride cotransporter, and the number 4, site 4, represents the action of thiazide diuretics, where it inhibits the sodium chloride symport transporter, and site 5 represent the action of aldosterone antagonist, where they are going to antagonize the aldosterone receptors. The example is spironolactone. So coming to the MCQ, identify the drug acting at site 3. So here the drug which is acting at site 3 will be the loop diuretics. So the option A is the right answer. So coming to the image which shows the thick ascending loop of Henle, where you can see sodium, potassium, 2 chloride cotransporter system. I think by this time You would have guessed which is the diuretics we are talking about. So we are talking about loop diuretics, the prototype being furosemide, where this will inhibit this sodium potassium 2 chloride cotransporter system. Thereby there will be loss of sodium potassium 2 chloride through the urine, so thereby causing hyponatremia, hypokalemia and hypochloremia. Since there is no back diffusion of potassium due to the blockade of this cotransporter system, there won't be any positive potential that will be developing in the lumen. So this loop diuretic will abolish the positive potential, thereby it inhibits the absorption of divalent cations, that is magnesium and calcium will not be absorbed, so therefore there will be loss of both calcium as well as the magnesium. So it causes hypocalcemia as well as hypomagnesemia. So as I said, loop diuretics are also called as high ceiling diuretic. Example is furosemide. They act at a thick ascending loop of Henle. They bind to the chloride binding site on the cotransporter system and inhibits the sodium potassium 2 chloride cotransporter. You should remember these three important points. These loop diuretics are very rapidly acting agent. They are very highly efficacious diuretics when compared to other diuretics, and the maximal natriuretic effect is seen with the loop diuretics when compared to the other diuretics. Natriuretic means it is the amount of sodium which is excreted out of the body. So all this feature makes its usefulness in treating relatively severe renal failure. So apart from this major action, it also abolishes the corticomedullary osmotic gradient, thereby in turn blocks the both positive as well as negative free water clearance. So what do you understand by free water clearance? It is the volume of urine excreted per unit time in excess of that required to excrete the contained solute isoosmotically with plasma. So free water clearance is defined as a volume of urine excreted per unit time in excess of that required to excrete the contained solute isoosmotically with plasma. So what do you understand by positive free water clearance? Positive means there will be dilute urine will be passed in the absence of ADH. Negative free water clearance means concentrated urine will be passed in the presence of ADH. Since the sodium potassium 2 chloride system is blocked, there will be high sodium load in the lumen. This high sodium load will be passed down to the distal convoluted tubule, where it gets exchanged with the potassium. So these potassium get excreted, causing loss of potassium. So additional to this, it also causes weak carbonic anhydrase inhibition. However, it does not affect any acid-base balance in the body, but at higher doses it produces mild alkalosis, the reason being due to the loss of chloride ions from the body. So on the renal and systemic hemodynamic, once you give a furosemide IV, after 5 minutes you will going to notice there will be increase in the renal blood flow. There will be redistribution of blood from outer to the mid-cortical zone, which in turn alters the pressure gradient in the vascular, interstitial as well as tubular compartment, thereby reducing the absorption of electrolytes as well as water in the proximal tubule. Along with that, these loop diuretics will going to increase the local prostaglandin synthesis. You know that this prostaglandin, like prostaglandin E2 as well as prostaglandin I2, as furosemide like action, means they are going to produce diuresis, where they are going to cause increased water excretion. It decreases the absorption of chloride ions as well as they antagonize the ADH action. So these locally synthesized prostaglandin will have a synergistic action with the furosemide. So once you give a IV furosemide in case of left ventricular failure as well as in pulmonary edema, this will going to increase the systemic venous capacitance by their venodilatory action. Thereby it reduces the venous return, in turn which will reduces the left ventricular filling pressure, which will occur before the sialyuretic effect. What do you understand by sialyuretic effect? Sialyuretic effect means it is the sodium excretion. So thereby it brings a quick relief in the symptoms in the patient with left ventricular failure as well as pulmonary edema. So furosemide, since it abolishes the positive luminal potential, there won't be any absorption of calcium and magnesium. Thereby, calcium and magnesium will be lost through the urine. So, what is the relationship of furosemide with respect to blood uric acid level? So, these uric acid will compete for secretion with furosemide, and furosemide get secreted through the proximal convoluted tubule using the organic anion transporter. Thereby the uric acid will remain in the body, thereby increasing the concentration in the body. Apart from that, furosemide, since it causes volume depletion, it causes reduction in the extracellular fluid volume, which in turn increases the absorption of uric acid, reabsorption of uric acid through the proximal convoluted tubule. Both this action will cause rise in blood uric acid levels. And furosemide, what is the relationship with blood glucose? There will be slight rise in blood glucose level. The reason being, since it causes potassium depletion, this will in turn lead to reduced insulin secretion. So in turn it leads to increase in blood sugar level due to the decreased utilization of the sugar from the skeletal muscles. So thereby it brings about carbohydrate intolerance, leading to precipitation of diabetes. So coming to the MCQ, which is the most significant electrolyte imbalance caused by loop diuretics? So when you see the options, all the options can be caused by loop diuretics like hypocalcemia, hypokalemia, hypomagnesemia and hyponatremia. But the main important, most common significant side effect which is noticed with loop diuretics is hypokalemia. It is hypokalemia is the answer. So coming to the pharmacokinetics of furosemide, the onset of action varies based on the route of administration. With IV, it takes 2 to 5 minutes. With IM, 10 to 20 minutes. With oral, 20 to 40 minutes. And duration of action will remain for 3 to 6 hours. And it has got 60% of the oral bioavailability. In case of severe congestive heart failure, you need to shift to the parenteral route because the oral bioavailability is reduced because the absorption through the edematous intestine will be less, and there is a and also it has got highly plasma protein binding capacity. Partly it undergoes glucuronic acid conjugation, thereby part of the drug is excreted unchanged through glomerular filtration, and some part of the drug will be getting secreted through tubular system. So T off is around 1 to 2 hours. Their T off is prolonged in case of conditions like pulmonary edema, renal insufficiency as well as hepatic insufficiency. So coming to the bumetanide, this is very important When bumetanide, when compared with the furosemide, it is 40 times more potent than furosemide, and it is very rapidly acting diuretic agent compared to furosemide. It is very effective orally in the treatment of pulmonary edema. So where you can use bumetanide in case of patient who are not responding to the furosemide and also allergic to the furosemide, because furosemide is a sulfonamide derivative where patient can show hypersensitivity reactions, and also this bumetanide has got lesser side effect with respect to hyperuricemia, hyperglycemia, hypocalcemia and ototoxicity, and bioavailability of bumetanide is around 80 to 100%, and in case of severe congestive heart failure it can be given through oral route. Though it is given through oral route, its absorption is unaffected even though the bowel is edematous. Coming to the torsemide, it is 2 to 3 times more potent than furosemide, and it is used in the treatment of edema as well as hypertension. So coming to the uses of high ceiling diuretics, it can be used in the treatment of edema, acute pulmonary edema, that is in case of acute left ventricular failure following MI, cerebral edema, hypertension due to associated insufficiencies, volume overload and hypercalcemia of malignancy. So coming to the each uses, it can be used in the treatment of edema irrespective of the cause, like cardiac cause, hepatic or renal. It is most useful in the treatment of cardiac edema where it can treat the congestive heart failure symptoms by rapid mobilization of the edematous fluid. Though thiazides can be used as a maintenance therapy, their effectiveness is not clear. So edema due to renal pathology or resistant edema, the loop diuretics will be the drug of choice, and it can also be used in the treatment of chronic renal failure where you require the higher doses of loop diuretics, and also it helps in maintenance of GFR as the as well as the renal blood flow in case of impending acute renal failure. So whereas in case of acute pulmonary edema, it produces venodilatory action. So there will be this action will be preceded over the cellulitic action, which brings about decrease in the venous return, which in turn decreases the left ventricular filling pressure, and also due to the decrease in the blood volume, it decreases the venous return, and all these features will provide a relief in case of pulmonary edema as well as left ventricular failure. So coming to the MCQ, furosemide can cause all except hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia, hyponatremia, mild alkalosis. Due to the loss of calcium, it can cause loss of chloride. Sorry, it is chloride. Loss of chloride. It can cause mild metabolic alkalosis in the body, and it can cause hyponatremia. It can cause hypocalcemia. If you can remember, loop loses calcium, so it doesn't cause hypoglycemia. Instead of hypoglycemia, it causes hyperglycemia. The reason being, reduction in the potassium will lead to reduction in the insulin release. So once there is a reduction in the insulin release, what happens to blood sugar level? Blood sugar should increase, so it should be hyperglycemia. So the answer is, exception is hypoglycemia. So coming to the other uses, in cerebral edema, the first choice of drug will be osmotic diuretics like mannitol, where it reduces the intracranial tension, but furosemide can be combined where it will increase the efficacy of the osmotic diuretics. So coming to the other uses, like it can be used in treatment of hypertension only if it is patient is associated with renal insufficiency, heart failure, resistant cases and hypertensive emergency. Otherwise, in rest cases, the thiazides will be the preferred diuretics of choice in treating hypertension. In case of volume overload, which occurs during blood transfusion in case of severe anemia patient, you can add loop diuretics, and also to treat the volume overload due to hypertonic saline infusion in case of hyponatremia, you can add loop diuretics to avoid volume overload. And also it is used in the treatment of hypercalcemia of malignancy, where you should need to take care about the two components. One is the volume depletion, it causes severe volume depletion, so that's why you have to give rapid large IV saline infusion. So during this infusion it can lead to volume overload. It will be taken care by administration of furosemide IV drip, so it prevents the volume overload. Along with that, it will also loses the calcium. So loop loses calcium. It increases the calcium excretion from the body. So coming to the MCQ, this is the primer MCQ for the next session. So identify the drug acting at site 4. So site 4 is here. So which is the drug acting at site 4? Yes, you are right. It is the thiazide. It is the thiazide diuretics which will be acting at the distal convoluted tubule, where they are going to inhibit the sodium chloride symporter. Thank you.